These are the top 50 S+ tier games on Steam. How'd we rank it? Simple. The players chose. With an average rating of 98% and above, these top-selling titles are some of the best you'll find not only on Steam, but in the gaming-verse. At number 50 is Riddle Joker. It's an anime-style visual novel set in a semi-fantasy world where you, as a secret agent with special powers, have to infiltrate an academy packed with gifted students. The game is a unique mix of romance, comedy, and tragedy, and does a great job of giving every genre its due right. Number 49 goes to a special kind of indie game called Alyx. It's an overheard isometric game that plays out like an RPG despite its very odd graphics. They almost feel like a fever dream. The game revolves around a man with a moon face who has to traverse across his weird realm in order to defeat the Moon King, Gibby. At number 48 is Epic Battle Fantasy V, a hilarious turn-based indie JRPG that features a staggering number of Japanese role-playing elements drawn as inspiration from some of the biggest names in the JRPG world. The entire game is basically just a casual gamer's dream with fun combat, knockoff Pokemon companions, and some fairly dynamic dungeon sequences. At number 47, we have an extremely wholesome point-and-click adventure game called Lost in Play. It's a puzzle game that features two siblings embarking on an adventure in a strange, magical world. In order to escape this fantasy realm, they have to essentially take on some of the most fun and quirky missions involving pirate birds, goblin villages, and sentient frogs. At 46, we have another point-and-click adventure game called Underground Blossom. Underground Blossom is a Rusty Lake puzzle point-and-click that almost plays out like a memory film in an underground metro station. Players get to complete small tasks at every station they come across to unlock memories of someone known as Laura Vanderboom. Ranked at 45 is an in-your-face first-person shooter called Cultic. It rolls out exactly like its name suggests, with your character going all out, guns blazing, into the core of a very malicious cult. The game is fast-paced, brutal, and almost violent with its gameplay, and is highly reminiscent of an old-school shooting game. Featuring at 44 is a Rusty Lake collection that bundles all 7 titles from the Cube Escape anthology. It follows a homicide detective, Dale, who gets caught up with the murder of a woman known as Laura. Yes, the same one from Underground Blossom. He has to get to the bottom of Laura's murder through different puzzles and characters scattered throughout the game. The franchise is known for its minimalistic line art, escape room-style puzzles, and a mysterious undertone to its gameplay. Coming at number 43 is the perfect game for cat lovers, known as an arcade full of cats. It's a simple puzzle game with an arcade-like setting that requires players to basically just find hidden cats in a very densely doodled backdrop. Number 42, The Case of the Golden Idol, is a thriller, mystery 2D point-and-click that features more puzzle solving and murder investigation. You have to play as an 18th century detective with 12 brutal murders at hand and have to get to the bottom of each and every one of them through clues and deduction. At number 41 is a text-based dating sim where you have to romance up a handsome Grim Reaper to prevent him from taking your soul. A Date with Death, despite its very simple narrative, offers some pretty innovative features like customizing your character and decorating your living space in order to impress the very being that's bent on killing you. Coming in at 40 is Trombone Champ, a rhythm game that features the player character trying to master the trombone through different tracks. You have to follow along with the different notes given to you and go through 50 unique music tracks by moving your mouse in an attempt to make your character play the instrument. Number 39, Wobble Dogs is a wacky pet simulator with an equally wild art style and color palette, where you get to take care of genetically mutated dogs with all sorts of weird quirks. Although the game's premise might not sound very charming on the first take, it's extremely cozy and wholesome once you get into the feel of things. Bomb Rush Cyberfunk is a 3D action platformer that dives into the world of graffiti wars between rival factions in New Amsterdam. You play as Red, a man who joins a graffiti crew to find his true purpose, and now has to help his friends take over the city. You'll be drawing graffiti all over town, skateboarding through the streets, and recruiting new members to join your faction. Our Life, Beginnings and Always is a very comprehensive romantic visual novel dating sim that lets you live out your character's entire life, from childhood to adulthood. You find love along the way and learn to deal with different weighty emotions like anger and sadness that are met with understanding and closure. One Finger Death Punch is a 2D beat-em-up that features kung fu-styled combat mechanics controlled in a way that discourages mashing buttons, like how most of us do in brawler games. It gives your character about 5 different classic kung fu moves, in addition to some weapons, and gives you the freedom to decide how you want to progress through the game. To think that a plastic duck sim would be one of the top tier games on Steam is an insane notion. However, at number 35, the Placid Plastic Duck Sim gives us exactly that. The entire game places emphasis on relaxation and literally lets you float around for as long as you want. At 34, we have a unique anime-like first-person action that features intense battles and very dynamic physics. Neon White is a speed-running game that revolves around an assassin tasked with killing demons infesting the heavenly realm. As the assassin, you use different skill cards and their combinations to attack enemy mobs and gain perks. At number 33, Chants of Sennar is an award-winning puzzle game inspired by the myth of the Tower of Babel. It revolves around a traveler who takes it upon themselves to fix the odd no-talking policy of the peoples of the tower. To do that, you, as the character, have to solve glyphs and make a connection between the 5 forgotten languages of the realm. This particular entry centers on a mysterious dollhouse located in the attic of a wealthy missing couple's manor, which somehow ties into their disappearance. It's up to you to figure it out and make the connection. VTOL VR is a virtual reality flight simulator that tests a player's flight skills by putting them through some of the most difficult flying and active combat scenarios. As the pilot, you have to maneuver your jet through different situations and come out of battle as unscathed as possible. If you're going to need something to cry over after all the shooting and point-and-click games, Finding Paradise at number 30 may just be the perfect fit for that. It's a heartfelt, story-heavy game that revolves around last chances and new beginnings, and features 2 doctors who let their patients live out their lives one more time before succumbing to death. At number 29, we have another anime-like visual novel that emphasizes player choices and delves into the mental impact of an apocalypse on the human psyche. The game revolves around a high schooler who's lost one of his legs in the said disaster and his gynoid companion, who promises to stand by him through his ordeal. Number 28, Rhythm Doctor is an insanely unconventional rhythm game that lets players be doctors and musicians at the same time. As a doctor in the game, you heal patients through your sick music skills by matching their heartbeats with your assigned tones. At number 27, we have Crab Champions. It's another funky, fast-paced shooter game that has roguelike elements and a very odd main character. You'll play as a crab with a gun, taking down and looting every enemy that comes your way. Coming in at number 26 is the 3D platformer A Hat in Time. You get to play as a young hat maker who has to step out of her shop in order to recover its missing fuel, essential for her work. She has to fight foes, make hats, and parkour around this magical world to get to her goal. Number 25, OneShot. OneShot is a 2D pixel adventure game that basically plays out like a big, confusing, but very interesting puzzle. It follows the story of a kid who gets tasked with restoring her world's sun, and to do that, she has to go through a boatload of enemies and distractions. The Henry Stickmin Collection is a collection of 6 Henry Stickmin games that deliver exactly what their titles promise. You get to break into a bank, steal a diamond, hijack an airship, and escape various sticky situations, all while carving out your own path to success, or perhaps failure. At number 23, we have Pizza Tower. It's a fast-paced 2D platformer with a particular emphasis on destruction and exploration. The game makes you play as a pizza chef who's bent on destroying the neighboring pizza restaurant to restore his own pizza place to its former glory. Number 22, Katana ZERO. Katana ZERO is a neo-noir platformer hack and slash with fairly powerful combat and very fast-paced progression. The main character is a katana-wielding assassin who completes different missions and gets rid of enemy mobs by jumping, slashing, slowing down time, and dodging. Half-Life. Alyx is a horror VR FPS that's set between the timelines of Half-Life and Half-Life 2. You, as Alyx Vance, are set to fight against a vicious alien force known as the Combine through face-to-face combat, exploration, and occasional puzzle solving. Portal is a unique first-person puzzle platformer set in the Aperture Science Laboratories from the Half-Life universe. You solve increasingly tough puzzles using a portal gun that lets you warp space and create shortcuts. At number 19, we have an action roguelike game set in a gothic-styled world that revolves fully around the vampires versus monsters lore. You have to go through hordes over hordes of different monster enemies and have to defeat them using 3 different weapons. At number 18, we have People Playground. People Playground is a gore-heavy sandbox game that revolves around doing some pretty nasty stuff to neutral mobs known as ragdolls. From shooting and stabbing to crushing them in weird contraptions, this game goes all out with its gore and horror. Hades is an isometric hack-and-slash dungeon crawler that has major roguelite and roguelike elements in it. You're an immortal prince stuck in the underworld of Olympus and have to fight your way out, but using different fast-paced combat mechanics and god NPCs. Portal 2, at number 16, is essentially just an extension of the previously mentioned Portal 1 and simply takes everything from the first installment and builds up on it. It has more difficult levels, a new set of characters, and more underlying mysteries that need to be explored. At number 15, we have a game that probably doesn't need much introduction. Stardew Valley is a farm sim that throws you into the world of farming by making you take over your virtual grandpa's plot of land. You have to turn that rundown field into a thriving farm using only some old tools from your grandpa's legacy. Number 14, Super Lesbian Animal RPG. Super Lesbian Animal RPG is a turn-based RPG that plays a lot like a classic JRPG game. It may not initially come off as the most serious game on this list, but it's perfect for what it offers. You can explore dungeons, fight off enemies, and even explore a cute romantic subplot between the main characters. At number 13, we have a massive point-and-click adventure game that stands out from the rest of the games on this list for being a fully hand-drawn game. With how the game looks, you might think there's a bit of computer work going on, but there isn't. Each and every puzzle and location in the game is meticulously drawn by hand. You get to explore, solve puzzles, and figure out the history through the lens of a ghost lighthouse keeper. A Tower Full of Cats is a vertical adventure point-and-click game that plays out similar to an arcade full of cats with its hidden objects. You, as the player, have to move through time and locate different cats through history. Featuring at number 11 is a roguelike shoot-'em-up game called The Void Rains Upon Her Heart. The entire game is basically a boss fight and features different types of bosses with unique abilities and skill sets that you need to defeat with love in order to progress to the final boss. At number 10, we have an adorable open-world game that lets you play around as a lost little mushroom. In Smushi Come Home, you have to navigate the cute mushroom around a dense but pretty forest until it finally finds its way back home. Number 9, The Upturned. The Upturned is a fun horror survival that sets some pretty high stakes on its core objective. To reach your hotel room without getting caught, you have to fight off terrifying creatures of the night at the Upturned Inn and have to leave their vicinity without letting them catch you. At number 8, we have a choice-based visual novel and dating sim known as Wani Hug, That Gator. The game is open-ended and everything depends on the choices you make as the protagonist, Inko. He's a high schooler who has his life turned upside down after a particularly rough move. Taking number 7 is a minimalistic yet extremely complex puzzle game known as Parabox. It's basically a massive, intricately connected puzzle that completely revolves around infinite levels and a lot of boxes. At number 6, we have another cat game developed by the same developers that released An Arcade Full of Cats and A Tower Full of Cats. A Castle Full of Cats, like the previous 2 releases, is a point-and-click hidden object game where you have to naturally click on the cats hidden all around the map, this time in a castle setting. At number 5, we have a successful remake of a very famous 2D horror survival game known as Ib. The game is an adventure game that thrusts the main character, Ib, into a haunted art gallery, where she has to confront and maybe even fight off various mean-spirited mobs. The game features intricate puzzles, hidden pathways, and multiple different endings based on player choices. At number 4, we have another very unexpected entry. Papa's Freezeria Deluxe is a casual cooking sim that basically just wants players to make ice cream sundaes for their customers. The more accurate your rendition of their order is, the happier they will be, which means more tips. Number 3, A Short Hike. A Short Hike is a casual, relaxing exploration game that features no violence or combat. It's a hiking sim that allows you to explore the fairly ginormous map of Hawk Peak Provincial Park. Your goal is to reach the summit of the park's mountains, but completely at your own pace and discretion. The game literally tries to discourage quick decisions and rushing. Number 2, Aseprite. Aseprite isn't a playable game in the exact sense of the word. It's a tool that lets you create your own pixel art and eventually animate it for a game. It has a very state-of-the-art tool set and is perfect for game designers who don't know where to start. Finally, taking its place as the highest-rated top-selling game on Steam is a Japanese visual novel known as Senren Banka. It's a light-hearted dating sim that revolves around a man trying to get rid of an ancient curse on a small remote village known as Huri. In the pursuit of that, he comes across different characters, all with their own quirks and powers. That's pretty much it for the S+ tier Steam games list. See you guys next time!